Welcome to the World Class Speaking podcast series. This is a place where you will learn how to present, persuade, and profit by improving your communication skills. Each episode in the series is a chapter from the book World Class Speaking in Action. And each chapter is written by a certified world class speaking coach. I'm your host, Matt Miller, and I've carefully crafted and summarized each chapter in the book. Have you ever attended a boring presentation? Most PowerPoint presentations are beyond boring, which makes a great opportunity for you to shine out from the crowd. In this episode, you will learn the 3 C's on how to turn your presentation from boring to breakthrough. Let's dive into the episode. Elevate your visuals from boring to breakthrough with the 3C compass in the book, World Class Speaking in Action. Manley Feinberg is a certified world-class speaking coach, as well as a speaker, technology leader, author, executive coach, and consultant. Now, why is this episode so important? Because creating compelling visuals is super important to keep your audience engaged, excited, and energized throughout your presentation with visuals. Here's a quote by Nancy Duarte, who is the author of the book Slideology. And she says, "Keep in mind that a slide's value is determined not by the amount of information it contains, but by how clearly it communicates its message. All visual aids you leverage during your presentation ultimately have one essential purpose, and it's to support your message." Now, I've made this mistake so many times at work when I've given presentations, and the presentations that I give at work are good. Like, the content is there, but I struggle with putting way too many words in it, getting too complicated, not being clear, and not being concise. And the remainder of this episode is going to show you the critical mistakes when it comes to presentations and also how to make a stellar visual. So stay tuned, because you can use this as a reference or a guide when you have a presentation that you need to do at work, or even when you're preparing something to speak in front of an audience at a speaking event. So the following are the 3 critical mistakes when it comes to a presentation. Number 1 is it's not clear. That's the biggest mistake. People get confused. Number 2 is the focus is on the slides rather than the speaker. The slide should be a means to support the message and the speaker. It should not be the actual material itself. And then number 3 is speakers will hand out their slides. You don't really want to do this. This approach fails to effectively communicate their message, and it will also be a distraction because the audience won't be looking at the speaker. They're going to be looking down at their slides and reading and trying to figure out where the speaker is speaking to. Those are the 3 critical mistakes. They're not clear, it's not focused, and they hand out their slides. Now let's move on to the 3 C's to a stellar visual. The 3 C's are clarity, connection, and communication. So starting with clarity, clarify your message or supporting data. Make it clear. Put it at a 3rd grade level so everybody can understand it. Number 2 is connection. So drive a deeper connection with your audience. This should be the core focus. And then number 3, to create a stellar visual, communication. Dynamically communicate your content. And here's a few questions that you can ask yourself when it comes to communication. It's like, first, is the slide as visually clean and simple as possible? Have you taken out all the distractions? Do you have one core central message that you want your audience to take away from that slide? Number 2, what can you remove to increase the clarity? Ask yourself that again. And then number 3, does it pass the billboard test? If you're driving in your car and you're on the highway and you look up and you see a billboard, you typically have 2 to 3 seconds to actually internalize and understand that billboard and what it's trying to say. Think of your visual as the same way. The audience should be able to grasp it and understand it in 2 to 3 seconds. And here are a few recommendations when it comes to creating a stellar visual. Number 1, when in doubt, when selecting a background color, go with black or white. This will remove distraction and make it simple. Number 2, minimize text. I always give the recommendation that there should be no more than 5 bullet points and 5 words per bullet point. Number 3 is include visuals. You want to include visuals that support the message. And then number 4 is include certain key phrases that are 10 words or less. And in the speaking industry, these are known as foundational phrases, something that's clear and clever. An example of this would be, if you fail to prepare, be prepared to fail. And then number 5 is build in blank slides during your presentation so that when you finish a slide, you can go to that blank slide if you want the attention to be on you as the speaker. And that way, your audience won't be trying to look up at the presentation. Instead, their focus will be on you. And then number 6 is have one idea per slide. If you have more than one idea, it gets convoluted, it gets chaotic, and people will be trying to understand what exactly you're speaking to. And then, after the recommendations, here are 4 concepts to help you communicate your data content. Number 1, the meaning of the data is more important than the data itself. You don't want to throw up facts, figures, statistics, in different numbers. Instead, tell us what the numbers mean. Can you illustrate it in a simple pie chart or a simple bar graph? Then number 2 is summarize the complex data into simple takeaways, something that everybody can understand. Number 3, contrasting color clarifies. If you had a bad day, make it red. If you had a good day, make it green. Typically, red is bad, green is good. Number 4, you can use animations that'll help put a little bit more interest and intrigue into your slides, and that can help engage your audience more. Now I want to transition onto optimizing image placement into your slides. Here are some general recommendations from the book. Evaluate your slides into horizontal thirds. Just take it into 3 different chunks horizontally and decide if you want the image to occupy the lower 2/3 and reserve the upper section for your text, or maybe you want to do it the other way around, how the image takes up the upper 2/3 and then your text is below it. Also, evaluate the vertical thirds. Chop your slide up into 3 sections vertically. And the same thing here is understand in which chunks you want your verbiage and you want your pictures to be in. Number 3, evaluate eye flow. So as people, we typically read left to right, and your eye will typically scan from left top to right top, and then down across the right, and then down the slide. Just think of the eye movement when you read. That's how you're probably going to want to structure your slide if there is some sequential order to it, because that's how the human brain is wired. And then number 4, visually scan your slides to make sure that they're balanced and that they're symmetrical. Something that comes across immediately is pictures that are out of place or unequal spacing, so make sure to do that. And then number 5 is compare your slide to the previous slide. Is it the same font? Make sure everything's consistent, same sizing, and all of that. And that will optimize your slides and specifically images on your slides as well. And then to summarize, the 3 C's to creating world-class visuals is clarity, connection, and communication. Clarity is the slide is visually clean and as simple as possible. And then what can you remove to make it more clear? And then there's connection. How does it connect with your audience in a relevant way? And does it connect with your audience emotionally? And then there's communicate. Does the slide communicate, or does the visual communicate a single message, idea, or supporting point? And then remember the billboard test. Can the audience grasp that information in 3 seconds or less? And then does it communicate the content at the appropriate technical level? So know your audience. And now that you know the importance of creating breakthrough visuals during your presentations, I encourage you to take a look at any slide deck or presentation that you've built out and just simplify it. Simplify the words, cut the pictures, and make it straightforward. And this will help you overall support your message and get your message through to your audience for your next presentation. And that wraps up this episode. And in the next one, you will learn how to use the stage to your benefit when speaking. That's all we've got for this episode on the World Class Speaking podcast series. Until next time, remember that becoming a great communicator is so important because it leads to greater impact, influence, and income. Thank you for listening and have a great day.